Chapter 12, Introduction. This chapter discusses the law of saras on houses. If a deep green or deep red nega, the size of 2 grisen, appears on the walls of a house, a kohen is called to examine it. If it is the color considered saras, in the case of a house, the kohen confines it for a week. At the end of the week, the kohen re-examines the nega. If the colored spot disappeared or faded to a shade that is not a nega, the house can be made tahor simply by scraping off the surface of the wall where the nega had been. If the spot did not fade and is still the color of a nega, the house is confined for a second week. At the end of this second week, the house is examined again. If the color disappeared or faded, the house can now become tahor by scraping off the surface of the wall where the spot had been. But it must also undergo a purification ritual. See Chapter 13, Mishnah 1, Note 3 for a description. If the spot did not fade or disappear by the end of the second week, the stones on which the nega appeared must be taken out of the wall and be replaced by other stones, and the mortar that held the infected stones in place must be scraped off and be replaced with new mortar. The house is then confined for a third week. If the nega did not return at the end of the third week, the house can be made tahor by undergoing the purification ritual. However, if the nega returned at the end of the third week, the house must be torn down. All of the above applies only where the nega did not spread at the end of the first week of confinement. However, if the nega did spread, we go to the final stage immediately. Thus, at the end of the first week, we must remove the infected stones and mortar and replace them at that time. The house is then confined for a second week, and if the nega does not return, the house undergoes the purification ritual and becomes tahor. If the nega does return at the end of the second week, the house must be torn down. There is no third week of confinement in either case.